What's up guys, Cloudie here checking in from the America server, and today we are gonna be looking at Ripine, the new magic assassin hero who has joined 킹스레이드 from the alternate universe of the 킹스레이드 anime. Before we get to it, I just want to make a shout out and a thank you to Fueria-san, who tested the performance of a fully built Ripine both with and without her brother in the party, and also graciously allowed me to reference those videos in this review. So thank you for that, you are awesome, and even more so for using Seria in that last video. I really loved that one and seeing her do, well, so much damage compared to herself. You guys can find the link to those videos in the description of this one. There's a Galgo area 6 clear both with and without Riheet in the party, and also some guild raid boss kills. Okay, now let's get to the Hall of Heroes and see her Transcendence animation, so how she looks like when she is obtaining the darkness or the light, whichever it has to be. Now while we are doing this, I just want to say that I'm already pretty much sold on getting her or building her. I already got her, of course, through the event, and I was gonna do the step up summon, but then also noticed that according to the shop, the event itself lasts, or the step up summon itself lasts till the 19th of January, so almost a full month from now. And we haven't had a 50k pull in quite a while yet. So the last time when there was, I think it was during Fallen Phrase release, where I was saying that Vespa definitely wouldn't start a 50k event halfway through a step up summon event, and they proved me terribly wrong there because they did exactly that. So this time I'm just gonna sit on my hands and not use my rubies and wait whether they start one then or not. So these are the animations of Ripine, and she does this actually in game too, and it looks pretty great, I think. So looking forward to be playing around with her in game. So after transcending her, let's look at what Miss Ripine can do. Let's go to her skills and see what she's all about. You're gonna start with her S4 because this basically very much defines her mechanics. Yeah, that word again. So she uses otherworldly mana to increase her own damage dealt to enemies by 35% and inflict a stack of otherworldly curse on the target each hit. So this is from her auto attacks, and this can stack up to 30 times. And while this doesn't seem to do much here, it ties into her other skills and gives them additional effects, so that's quite nice. And the skill book enhancement raise this to like 50%, which is quite OP, to be honest, just like a baseline skill there. It's super OP. But there is an extra version of this one, or an extra part of this one. This is the Full Moon Execution, which is her combined skill that she does together with Riheet. So both of them use this skill once they have used their S2s together. And this is, so let's see what this does. Dispel CC effects from self and attacks an enemy inflicted with Full Moon Mark 2 times, dealing 420k damage. That's from my current Pepega gears, which you shouldn't mind because they are just very random. And the last hit explodes Full Moon Mark, dealing 330k damage that ignores defense. If the target is not a hero, it deals an additional 840k damage that also ignores defense, and upon exploding Full Moon Mark deals 40k additional magic damage that also ignores defense per stack of Otherworldly Curse. So Otherworldly Curse can go up to 30 stacks, so that would make it 1.2 million from this stacks alone. And this, if this skill is used together with Riheet, as said, both of them will be using their respective version of the skill. Riheet's one is slightly different, and should this skill kill an enemy, the cooldown of their S2, which triggers the Full Moon Mark, will be reset. So let's see the numbers here. That's like 400k, 330, 800, so that's like all together, so this is like 1.2 million. So altogether with the gear I have now, this is about 2.8 million damage, out of which about 2.4 is ignore defense if you are fighting PvE, so monsters, not players. That's a lot of ignore defense damage, or at least a large part of this, so that's pretty good. It seems she is definitely worth using together with Riheet. But let's see what her other skills do, so let's put this in perspective. Silver Moongust, this is her S1, a 12-second cooldown skill for 2 mana deals a total of 500,000 damage to the target over 4 hits and delivers an additional attack that deals 367k damage and inflicts stun on the target for 2 seconds. If the last hit deals additional damage that ignores defense per stack of otherworldly curse, not otherworldly darkness. That shocked me. So that's like 330k from this one all together, and this is like 870-ish. So that should be like 1.2-ish in damage, but only 300k of that is ignore defense compared to the 2.4 in the other skill. So also this has some damage modifier which increases it a bit further. Let's see her other skill, Silver Moon Mark. So this is the one that can trigger the execution. Let's see how it goes. 3 mana, 15-second cooldown. Dispels CC effects from self and moves to the farthest enemy to inflict an irremovable Silver Moon Mark for 15 seconds. So 15-second cooldown, 15-second uptime, and starts with a dispel. Also moves to the farthest enemy, and this also has a perk that makes it the highest attacker target. Thank you, Doc, for walking in the background. So yeah, so this can be a pretty hefty PvP skill, and there is also a UT for it that makes it even better. Dealing, well, that's like 200k damage compared to the other skills. So far, this is like nothing at all. And let's see, if there is an enemy inflicted with Black Moon Mark, Ripine attacks the target inflicted with that mark and changes the mark to Full Moon Mark. So basically, if Riheet used his Black Moon or his S2 first, then a Ripine will be moving to that enemy, changing the Black Moon Mark to Full Moon Mark, and then they can use their execution skill for the next 10 seconds. And this also changes all their skills, so they can only use this execution kind of attack together. So not too much damage on its own, but triggers another skill which on the other hand does superb damage. Let's see, S3, Silver Moon Blade Storm, 20-second cooldown, that's pretty long, 3 mana, so. Attacks the target 5 times, dealing a total of 540k damage, and delivers an additional attack that deals 388 magic damage. The last hit deals 18k additional damage that ignores defense per stack of otherworldly curse. So even more damage than the S1. This is like 930k or so. Plus this would be like 550k ignore defense. So slightly higher than the S1 skill and on a longer cooldown. So in burst it's higher. In terms of DPS maybe not so much, but it has nice perks and UTs which will actually make this the go-to DPS skill of Ripine, I believe. So these are her skills, or we can have a quick look how they actually look like and what they actually do. Now, as far as I know, the curse part of her auto attacks cannot be dispelled, and I did not see actually a timer on them to be expiring. In Fueria's video, even when she was getting banished in Galgo, the buff wasn't, or debuff wasn't ticking down. You can see it going up now, so I assume it just stays once it's stacked to 30. So let's see, her S2 moves behind the target, does the mark, which curiously doesn't really have an icon. I wonder why. And I was trying to find it when I was playing around in stages, and I can't see the mark, which is kind of strange. But let's see, this is her S1. Not terribly flashy, but still some nice animations. And wow, that started with like a kick there. This one looks pretty cool. Very long animation and a pretty nice DPS. So let's see. It's not just me who is like there is something above there, but you can't see the debuff icon, which is kind of weird. But okay, so these are her skills. Fairly long cooldowns. The lowest one is 12 seconds, then there is a 15 seconds and the 20 seconds. But with her perks, you can play around with it. So let's get to the perks. Let's see what she can actually do if the game decides to get past this loading screen. Okay, that took a while. So Transcendence skills. I would say that for PvE, you're definitely gonna go with something like this. Let's see what each do. So you would want to pick up extra attack for tier 2. Depth penetration, she probably doesn't need that much, although not all of her damage is ignore defense, but a pretty significant part of it, which means that depth penetration just doesn't give that much to her. This one could be useful, but she gains crit chance from her unique weapon and also from this one. So her unique weapon at 5 stars gives her like 50% crit chance. So that's like 60 already with this perk. So that would make her almost crit capped. On Galgo, of course, you need a bit more. But let's see what her more interesting perks are. Let's see this one. The S1, the last hit reduces the target's mana by 2,000. This could be useful. I don't think she's a Checkmate hero because ignore defense doesn't really work on Checkmate that much, but on Siegfried this could be quite nice. And of course you could use it in PvP to be like a real pain with mana burn. Now the other one is reduces cooldown by 3 seconds, so that would make her 12-second cooldown skill into an 8-second cooldown, which is not too bad. The damage of her S1 isn't as high as her S3 and S4, so I'm kinda leaning... maybe not. It depends. It could be useful. It also depends how well you are on mana, because that skill is also like 2 mana. Her Silver Moonmark is 3 mana, and then her Silver Blade Storm is also 3 mana. So that's like 8 mana to just go through her skills. So that wouldn't be... this may be good, it may be bad, we'll see. Depends how you are with crit chance and crit damage. Let's see, Silver Moon, so her S2, Silver Moonmark Light, changes the target to the enemy with the highest attack, definitely a PvP skill. This one increases magic damage the hit target takes by 30% for 10 seconds. Well, the uptime on this is so-so, because Silver Moonmark has a 15-second cooldown, so I'm not quite sold on this one. It's not bad, especially because usually this would come before the big execution attack, but magic teams tend to have a lot of amp anyway, so I think not really so much. S3. Each hit inflicts stun on the target for 1 second. Sounds like a PvP skill. You remember that there were like 5 hits in this skill, so that's a lot of mini stuns, which can be really annoying in PvP because it will just lock you down. Let's see, her other one increases damage by 40%. Now her S3 hits really hard. It's one of her main nukes other than the execute skill, and this is increasing it by 40%, and then the unique treasure will also add to that. And now there is the S4, Mana Light and Otherworldly Mana Light and Dark. Each hit reduces the target's attack speed by 30 for 10 seconds. And this effect can be stacked up to maximum 10 times. Sounds like a PvP kind of thing. Attack speed reduction doesn't really work in most PvE contents. And then when there is one enemy, each hit inflicts 1 additional stack of Otherworldly Curse. Well, the curse doesn't really drop, and you can get this up pretty fast, especially if you are running Riheet, who also has 2 versions of this, one for multiple enemies and one for single target. So I think for Ripine this isn't worth, unless you are running her without Riheet in party. Then maybe for faster stacking, but even then, once these are up, they are not really going anywhere anymore, so kind of feels redundant after that. So I think I would either go with this perk for more S1 use if my mana allows, or might just pick up this for 95 TP if you are at 95 TP, because then with almost like if you have an Anatin team, then you don't even need a priest buff anymore to have the crit cap, and crit damage is not bad to have because we no longer run Dark Legion gear, so it might be good. Oh yeah, and I forgot to actually test her or show her tier 5 Dark. At the beginning of each battle, increases damage dealt to bosses by 15%, so on top of all her normal damage increasing, she also gets boss damage, and this can stack up to 5 times, so that's a lot of that's a whole lot of boss damage. This would make her pretty dope in, for instance, Eclipse, I think, against bosses. That's a 75% boss damage, and you just need to go through 5 stages to get that. And you also do not need to do any and there is no time limit, and you don't need to do anything, and it doesn't come with any kind of drawback. So I would definitely pick this for PvE. Maybe for Eclipse with fast battles, this can be good if you want to go fast against bosses. Alright, let's move on to the index, because I said I do not have her her items yet, so let's see what those can do. So here we are in the item index, and let's just check what Miss Ripine can have, what kind of treasures she can obtain. This is her unique weapon, Silver Lunar Wing Clarafan, or something like that. Increases crit chance, damage dealt to enemies, and damage dealt to bosses. And the damage dealt to enemies and damage dealt to bosses parts are only lasting for 120 seconds, and none of this is removable. And the crit chance goes up all the way to 500. So together with her unique her tier 5 light, and with this unique weapon, she has like 600 crit chance, so she's pretty close to being capped. And then she gets a lot of extra damage to enemies, also from her S4 and from her tier 5 dark, which is for bosses. So all in all, that's a lot of damage boost, and the crit chance is free stats. It's really nice with techno magic gears, because you are lacking on stat lines for crit there. Now let's see her unique treasures. Let's find them. This would be her unique treasure 3, which increases the damage of her S3 by 100%. Remember, this is her second highest hitting skill, and also reduces the cooldown from 20 seconds to 14 seconds, but only when there is one, or well, the damage increases only when there is one enemy. Definitely what I would recommend using if you want to use her as a boss killer. This makes her S3 to be pretty much on par with her S4, I believe, or the execution skill, I believe. And I would say this is the go-to unique treasure to get for her for PvE boss killing. Anyway, let's see what else she does have. I think it was this one, yeah. So Silver Moon Mark, this is her S2. Dispels positive effects from the target and reduces crit resistance by 200. And then the stacking part is the crit resistance, the magic crit resistance. Now if you remember, the S2 is actually a skill that cleanses herself, can target the highest attacker, and can also dispel all sorts of effects from that target. So that becomes a pretty wholesome skill for PvP. So if you want to use her in PvP, I guess this would be the combination that you use. Yeah, that makes her a pretty powerful diver, unless there is of course someone as an attack bait. But all in all, she might be using this one. Let's see. The Silver Moongus, so this is her S1 skill, increases the duration of the stun effect by 2 seconds, and the magic damage the target takes by 12%, and then this goes up to 30%. So essentially she can amp with her S1. Maybe if you were using her in some sort of support role. I don't really think this is worth like she can magic. As said, magic teams do have a lot of amp anyway, so this wouldn't be that much worth, I believe. For a unique treasure, the scaling isn't that high, like okay, 30% for a 5-star unique treasure. I would not say this is worth. Then the final one should be this one. This is her S4, increases attack speed by 300, and at the beginning of each battle inflicts 8 stacks of otherworldly curse to all enemies. And then this goes up to 20. Now remember, this stacks up all the way to 30. Well, this could be okay-ish where you are running very fast battles, or like say Eclipse. I guess this would be okay for Eclipse, because there you have a lot of stages where you don't really want to spend too much time stacking her curse. So she can do real damage, and this could be alright, because then you start out with an almost maximum stack every time. But then again, if you have Ripine then or Riheet in the party, then you would already be stacking quite high, and depending on how you pace your waves, you might have enough time to set them up anyway. So, and you might want to have the burst damage against bosses in the later stages. So I don't know. A lot of the ignored defense mechanics are tied to the otherworldly curse, so this could be good for Eclipse, I believe. I wouldn't really use it anywhere else. Maybe Escalon. But then again, Escalon's waves aren't that hard. The hard part is when he summons his ads, and there it wouldn't activate any longer because this is at the beginning of each battle. So for PvE, I would say the main unique treasure is her 3, so skills 3. This one, and for PvP probably the skill 2 one, because that just makes her very versatile in those scenarios. Now for her soul weapon, I have to cheat a little bit and just read out of Vespa's post. So let's see. Summons the soul of Silver Lunar Wing Claropheon for 8 seconds, increasing own attack by 30% and creating a shield that absorbs damage and increases crit damage by 50%. So that's a lot of attack and crit damage for 8 seconds. If Riheet is in the team, he will gain the same shield. And the advancement phase 1 changes the duration of the soul and the shield to 12 seconds. So this would make it possible to line it up better with those 10-second burst phases that we often have. And better uptime is always good anyway. And then we have advancement 2, which changes the attack boost to 50% and crit damage boost to 100%, and the shield becomes irremovable, which should make it quite nice in some situations, would make her survive better. Now Riheet has a similar soul weapon, which also gives bonuses both to himself and Ripine, so you kinda would want to have both of them, but let's not get into that. So you have looked at the skills, the perks, the gears. The last one would be gearing, really. So let's have a quick look. As said, she gains a lot of. She already has 200 crit chance, and then she gets 500 from her 5-star unique weapon. So that's already 70%. And then if you pick the tier 5 light, then she has like 80% crit chance just from her unique weapon and her base. So, and then there is of course the priest bonus, there is a net, so it's very easy to hit 100% crit chance with her even without having any kind of crit lines at all. She does not have too much crit damage. Her soul weapon gives some, but that's like, you know, not 100% uptime, so wouldn't rely on that. I would say giving her some, maybe going up to like 100%-ish would be useful, especially if you are running TM raids where you generally do not have Lovril and her buff, so crit damage isn't too bad, but I wouldn't go overboard with it, because nowadays it's just attack all the way anyway, so attack would be the main stat for her. Penetration, a very large chunk of her damage comes from her ignore defense mechanics. So penetration again wouldn't give her too much of a bonus, and you already get some from this one, so that's already 200. And yeah, I wouldn't really gear her for penetration either. I would say go full on attack really, and maybe a little bit of crit damage. For TM gears, well, ignore defense lines, I would pick 2 of them at least, and then probably the 95, above 95 health types, because she is more geared towards fast battles, so the stacking damage over time is not so good. Yeah, I would definitely go with that one instead. And that's it really. Attack speed, I don't think anyone gears towards attack speed these days, because you can just get a lot of it from other buffers, so that's like not that needed really. Yeah, guys, this is my impression of Ripine. I think she's cute. Just too bad that her costume is hidden behind that paywall, like the proper looking one, and her damage seems really super high for magic. Really, it's like incredibly high for a magic team, and I'm really astonished that she can do that much. So I will definitely get her myself, and I think she is a good catch. I hope they will be put into the memory archives after their event ends, so you guys can watch the story. But I've also recorded it, so you will be able to enjoy it even if Vespa doesn't show it any longer. So this is Ripine for you guys. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. And this has been Cloudie for now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.